All right, so we're actually getting into forcing entry into doors. Okay. So forcing it is taking a door that's the most conventional method used in the fire service. So we're most likely going through doors. Firefighters can perform forcible entry once he or she has sized it up. Again, so we're looking for frame, building material, key boxes, all that fun stuff. Determining the type of forcible entry to use depends on your own knowledge of door construction and locks. So what's going to hold you back from getting through a door is most likely your own knowledge base. So then when we get to that, we have to consider the amount of damage, the minimum amount of damage, and proceed to the maximum amount. So we want to do, you're looking at what's going to create least damage, to do that first, try and get in the door. That's the try before you pry. Is the door locked? You just walk in before you bust out the door frame, before you rip, cut a door off. Determine severity of emergency and the speed at which which entry must be gained. Do I need to be in this second? Do I have a minute to take a door? Is it so severe that we just have to do whatever we can to get in right now? Again, that goes back to the size up, and that's something that you're gonna have to learn in time. Again, try to open the door or look for a key box before trying to bust in a door. Always look for another entranceway. If you can't get in a door, is there can you walk around to the side of the building and there's an open window that you can go in? It's all about determining for the current situation, what's the best means. So black boxes, obviously that's going to be the fastest way in with a key. Usually mounted at high visibility locations. That one even has fluorescence on it. So if light shine on it, it should be even easier to see. So that could have a key, that could be also have a code. Is there another way to get inside? So door control. We were talking about this before with how every entrance or window that we take is could possibly make the fire worse. So what are we talking about when we're talking about door control? Right here, having a firefighter stationed at the door to control it. You have someone there that can open and close it. Basically, if you're trying to reduce the ventilation to the fire, you can also prop the door open if it's not going to matter. And also propping the door open is a safer method where if ventilation isn't a problem, then propping the door open makes it easier for people to escape if they have to. And side note, if you have a firefighter stationed at the door, if you think about it, there's a interior crew in front of him pulling hose, so he's controlling the door, but he can control the door, but also be feeding line in through that door that he's controlling, like past the door. Okay, so sometimes it's not just gaining access to a house, or just to gain access to the house, we have to gain access to the property. So we're talking about fences and gates. And again, they're made from, just like any other building construction, they can be made out of multiple different things, which means we're gonna have to know what tool to use if we have to get through it. And here's other issues, you can go into with barbed wire, razor ribbon, or if it's livestock, if you're cutting open into some farmer's field, is livestock gonna get out there? Is it electrified? Do we know? The recoil. So if you're cutting fencing is pulled tight and you're cutting it, it's gonna fly out. So how are you gonna keep yourself? You're gonna have to keep yourself safe and staying away from it. Because again, you're gonna release the pressure. Okay, so if you touch an electric fence before the electric is turned off, you could shock yourself. So make sure you're turning off electric fences. Where's the gates and so you can cut it with rotary saw or bolt, or go through it with bolt cutters. You can go over the fence instead of through it. Fun little thing with fences, A-frame ladders. That was always my go-to, because you can throw it over the other side of the fence and then walk over one side and back down the other. Super, super handy. And then you don't have to break anything either. So, again, fences, look for lockbox or keypads. It's just like doors, they could have other means of entrance. You can also pry the gate open, it's a door. Force the padlock or chain. Prying or cutting the gate should be the last method chosen. Again, the main takeaway is doing the least amount of property damage as we can while on scene. So starting at the easiest. So obviously the last thing that we should do is actually cutting into it. Again, wire fence recoils. So don't get hit by flying fence. Also, make sure if you're working around someone, you let people know, hey, I'm cutting this fence, there's gonna be recoil coming out this way. Don't stand there. Some gates on commercial sites can provide special padlocks and electronic key switches that are operating with the same key used to access the lockboxes. Know your sites that are in your district. Okay, door locks. So we got locks and latches. So we got different mortise locks, cylinder locks, rim locks, high security locks that we're gonna be looking at. So here we have the mortise latch, and it is mounted in a cavity in the door. Here's your cavity in the door with the lock in it.
So that's just like your regular deadbolt, right?
No. So the mortise is different from the deadbolt. The deadbolt would be a secondary on top of that. And even older assemblies will differ from newer ones, where older ones will have only the latch to hold the door open and closed, while newer ones could have a latch and a key operated deadbolt. So just because you see this doesn't mean there is a deadbolt. Which these are operated usually by a doorknob or a lever, used on exterior wood and metal doors, and these can be found in everything. Private residence, commercial or industrial buildings. You have the most common, the cylindrical lock, key and knob. Like I said, this is the most common that we're gonna come up in residential. And this consists of the installations boring two holes at right angles to one another. And then where this comes apart, think of the door in between it as it pushes together. Then we have tubular deadbolt. Mounted above doorknobs. Single action cylinders. Keyway on outside of door, thumb turn knob on the inside. So That's your turn to lock the deadbolt. So this is an additional security measure. Yeah, so the easiest way to breach a modern deadbolt is to just force the door itself. Now we have different types of rim locks, the night latch and deadbolt and vertical deadbolt. These are usually used in houses, apartments, and some commercial buildings used as an additional lock. Just because it has this, you know, this could be, there could be multiple locks. So this could be in addition to whatever other lock is already there. So the night latch has a spring-loaded bolt with beveled edge facing the door frame. This allows the door to lock when closed. And then our deadbolt has a rectangular bolt. You must manually retract before the door can be closed. Yeah, you can't close the deadbolt if it's out. Shocking. And the vertical deadbolt has a bolt that slides vertically into the receiver and does not cross the door. Impossible to open by spraying the door from the door jab. So again, a little bit of knowledge that you have to have, that if you think you're up against one of these, you're not gonna be able to take it out by just spraying the door jab. So then you have your high security locks, like your multiple bolt doors, electronic key locks, and electromagnetic locks. We also have keyless entry now. That's found on exterior and interior doors, which may have a keypad, a card reader, fingerprint activated, generally battery powered. Some keypads also have a keyway. We have to remember too, just because there's, you know, the electricity, buildings have backups, so even if the power's out, these are still gonna be up if they have a generator. And your electromagnetic locks, because electric current passing through electromagnetic and armature plate holds the door shut. So as long as there's electric to that lock, it stays shut. But again, if they lose power, it's gonna. So now we have a fancy padlock. Maybe supplemental to the door lock or used in place of it. I'm thinking about like storage units, where they might have two locks, but they might also have a padlock on the outside. Again, situational awareness thing, just to keep an eye out for, or even fences. You know, some fences lock with padlocks. Two different types: the standard and the heavy duty. The standard shackles of 1/4 inch or less, and is not case hardened. So what, if you remember back, we were talking about tools. If it's case hardened, you can't use bolt cutters on it. So that's something you remember. Like, so it's simple, but important to remember. If you come up against a padlock, what kind of padlock am I dealing with? The heavy duty, they're case hardened, and they're more than 1/4 inch in diameter. They have the toe and heel locking. Both ends of the shackle are locked when depressed into the locking mechanism. The shackles will not pivot if one side of the shackle is cut. So if you cut it, it's not just gonna free spin. To remove the lock, then you're gonna have to cut both sides. So, other locking devices. So we have drop bars, door limiters, door chains, internal mounted bolt, and surface bolts. So the door chain, I think we've all seen those, mainly hotels, some apartments. So it's gonna allow the door to open somewhat. So if that chain's on there, you're still gonna be able to get a little bit of space open to be able to like talk inside to the person. And I feel like out of all these selections, that's probably the easiest to go through. With enough force, it just pops restricts opening the door. It's similar to supplemental security locks, so additional security locks in hotel rooms. And then your surface bolt, manually operated, secondary. So again, all these are secondary locks to whatever other lock they already have. Which, again, we don't have X-ray vision, so when we're coming up on a door, a lot of times what are we doing? We're sounding the door first, feeling for lock points. And that's why, because you don't know how many locks are on that door. Or even the drop bar, where it's literally just a bar in between the door. So what type of locks and locking devices are firefighters likely to encounter?
Mortise locks.
Yes.
Deadbolts.
Yeah. So where do you guys think in our jurisdiction you'd find different locks?
Sure, we've probably got some electromagnetics on the schools,
Yeah.
probably in some of our
Banks.
big box stores.
A lot of our hotels, they have the door limiter.
Yep.
I've seen that.
Yep. Yeah, that's all. Good stuff. All right, we were talking about this a little earlier with door control, the coordinating forcible entry and door control. So again, entering a building, anytime we enter a building or open a window, we're creating ventilation, which is feeding the fire. So that's why it's important that we coordinate forcible entry with interior. Just like any other ventilation that your ventilation has to go along with whatever's going on inside. You're all there trying to keep each other safe. And again, time between forced entry and fire attack to go in needs to be really, really fast. If you're forcing a door, you need to have the crew, the line right behind you to go in. And again, firefighter, this one, figuring is there door control? He's left there to either if he's gonna leave the door open or if he's gonna close, he needs to keep it closed. And then there you see too with the hose line, so he's able to feed hose line. And again, keeping the door closed unless you have to. Breaking glass. So breaking glass may be difficult and costly. Ordinary glass shatters into sharp fragments. Yeah, so that's some of your dangers. If breaking glass, you want to be wearing your SCBA. Glass is a barrier to ventilation. And there's your big problem too, is once you break a window or break the glass out of a door, you cannot put new glass in the door. So you have a permanent ventilation hole. So these are, again, another thing to add into your brain that, once we take this out, we have to, we're just gonna have this open spot now for ventilation. Okay, swinging doors. So, we're gonna look for hinges. This is how to tell which way the door is swinging. Can I see the hinges? If yes, door is gonna swing towards you. If you cannot see the hinges, the door is gonna swing away from you. So let's talk about inward then. Inward swinging doors. One firefighter method. So forcible entry of a single inward swinging door requires one or two skillful firefighters depending on tools used. The single firefighter can use a ram bar and can open most standard swinging doors alone. Okay, so Then if we're gonna go to the 2 firefighter method, one firefighter on the Halligan, the other on, a striking tool. So then you are going to, if the door is metal, or metal clad in metal frames and set in masonry, you may need to use another technique because this may not work, obviously, because you're not gonna get the pressure available to pop it. You can also use hydraulic door openers. And worst case, we were talking about kind of going up the scale in how much damage we're gonna do. And if it gets to the point where you can't force the door out, you can always cut a door out, or you can cut a hole in the door to get inside. So then that's when the tool knowledge, that's then, you use your rotary saw, and if it's metal, if you have, like it says, if it's a metal door, you can use a metal blade, cut through it, make your entrance that way. And then we have outward swinging doors. So if the door is outward swinging to us, you see they have the saw, and they really can just cut off the hinges, and then the door will just come right off. Or same kind of idea, but using the Halligan bar, just taking the hinges right off the wall. Double swinging doors, so we're talking, if there's 2 doors. So he's just sticking the saw down the center to cut out the locking mechanism, and then he can move doors. Again, you want to use your proper tools for that job. Make sure you have the right saw, the right blade, all that fun stuff. Again, if you had to, you could always cut through these doors too. Doors with drop bars. So we saw a picture of the door with the drop bar. It was one that looks like almost just a 2x4 sitting in between. These are different techniques you can use. Using rebar and Halligan to spread the space between the doors to insert a tool to lift the bar to literally like wrench it on to open it up enough spot to just be able to reach a tool in there and push up the bar, get it out of the way. Using a rotary saw to cut the exposed bolt heads holding the stirrups on the outside of the door, or inserting a rotary blade through the opening and cutting the security bar. So really just going, make it, even if you make yourself a little purchase point, wedge, just cutting the bar. Tempered plate glass with doors. So these you're going to have in your commercial, light industrial, institutional occupancy.